Another massive fight would be Ilia versus Islam too.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, Salim is obsessed with that fight.
Oh, really?
He's obsessed with it. And I tell him, I'm like, but they both got to win more fights in their division first, right? That's kind of how you do it, right? When it's like they both run through their division, and then it's like you're in the position where it's like, I got to make this. That's what happened with Volk Islam, right?
Well, the other thing is too is that Islam moves up, and obviously if Islam won the title, you know, you immediately have a super fight with him and Ilia. So
could that be, if Islam gets one victory, could that potentially happen?
You have to see. It's one thing to sit around. This is what the media always tries to do, sit around and talk about these fights before they happen, or, you know, hypothetically speaking. I don't like hypothetical. These are options that we have if things play out that way, but you never know what's going to happen.
Islam Makhachev has created buzz in the MMA world by sharing his desire to fight Ilia Topuria after winning the welterweight belt. All the MMA fans wanted to see this fight, and finally they've got some hope. At the Eagle FC press conference, Islam Makhachev revealed that after handling business against Jack Della Maddalena, he's got his eyes on a potential super fight with Ilia Topuria. Makhachev admitted there is real intrigue in that matchup and even called it a fight that excites him, hinting that fans could see one of the biggest champion versus champion clashes in UFC history.
Твой следующий бой после Маддалены пройдет в 77?
Не могу сказать точно. Есть с Топурией какая-то интрига. Мне самому тоже интересен этот бой. Может получится сделать какой-то супер бой. Или, как я сказал, посмотрим по весу.
Islam Makhachev hinted at a return to 155 to face Ilia Topuria after someone at the press conference asked if he would go back down and destroy Topuria so he can finally shut up. His reply was savage, which instantly set the crowd buzzing.
Также хотел бы попросить тебя вернуться в легкий вес, чтобы ты уничтожил Топурию, и он наконец-то заткнулся и не говорил ничего о бойцах из Дагестана. Ислам Макхачев чемпион!
Как ты хочешь, все сделаем.
Islam Makhachev also talked about his current weight and how comfortable he feels at welterweight. At the Eagle FC press conference, he revealed that before his last camp, he was walking around at roughly 183 to 185 pounds, but with the right training and nutrition, he now sits at about 189 pounds. Makhachev said this is the range where he feels strong and sharp in sparring with natural welterweights. He added that putting on more size isn't his main focus anymore, since the working camp already prepared him to compete at a higher weight.
Islam, what is your weight now? How much did your weight change, and how did your physical condition, your physical preparation change? You know, up until last camp, I think my weight was about 83, 84, but now with the right regimen, with the right diet, my weight is now 86 and a half. Yesterday was 86 and a half. I think right now I'm where I need to be. I'm at the right weight. I'm at the place where I feel comfortable with working out, sparring, and working with the guys that usually fight at 77. To continue to gain the weight from now on is not necessarily the goal of mine. I mean, it might go up by 1 or 2 kgs in training still, but we've already done plenty of work during this camp with heavyweights to make sure to gain the proper weight that we need.
The former lightweight champion further spoke about a possible return to lightweight after his welterweight debut. He admitted that cutting down to 155 was never easy and said the decision would depend on how his body responds after the fight. Makhachev explained that if he goes up to 85 or 86 kilos, he and his team will need to sit down and decide the next move.
Ever consider going back down to lightweight? Because with everything you said, most likely cutting weight is going to be only harder. Depends on how much weight I'll gain after the fight. So if I'm going to go up to 83 or 84, that's possible, but if I'll go up to 85, 86, then I'm not sure. I mean, it was never an easy thing to cut weight, so we'll have to sit down with the team and we'll have to figure out what the next move is.
Similarly, Ilia Topuria also expressed interest in facing Islam Makhachev at the White House, describing it as a special stage to showcase a fight for the American audience. He made it clear he was ready if the chance came, but doubted Islam would ever return to lightweight, pointing out that once fighters move up in weight, they rarely decide to cut back down.
You versus Islam on the White House card would be insane. Would you want to fight at the White House, or?
Why not? I would love to fight in front of the United States of America.
Yeah.
I would love it. We'll see what's
But it's
gonna
a year
happen.
away, right?
It's a year away.
That could be perfect timing for you and Islam, though. What weight would that go down at now, though?
Like, what do you mean? When it
Like
could
what
happen?
weight class? Yeah.
I don't care with him.
He
I
couldn't
don't
come
really
back
care.
down to 155.
Once you try to go up, you never want to come back.
Yeah.
It's like
It's hell, right?
it's hell.
Yeah.
It's hell. I had to go through hell when I was cutting the weight in 145, and now that I decide to stay in 155, it's like two different worlds. I have been able to enjoy the whole process. I've been more happier.
However, Arman Tsarukyan stressed that Ilia Topuria needed to face him before being compared to Islam Makhachev. He argued that Topuria's rise had been less demanding, with his biggest victories coming against opponents past their prime. Arman also claimed that if Topuria had fought Alexander Volkanovski years earlier, the result would have been very different, with Volkanovski dominating the matchup.
If he beat me, he's gonna be on the same level as Islam. He gotta beat like someone like me, you know, who can wrestle. He just had easy fights on his career, you know. He beat legit fighters, but not on their prime. If he met Volkanovski 4 years ago, Volkanovski just eat him.
Islam Makhachev also admits that the matchup that makes the most sense at lightweight right now is Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. He explains that Arman has already proved himself as a top contender and deserves the opportunity. Makhachev adds that if Tsarukyan goes into the fight with the right mindset, he has the tools to beat Ilia.
На твой взгляд, сейчас самый справедливый бой за чемпионство в легком весе между кем? Между Ильей Топурией и Арманом Царукяном?
Ну да, конечно. Если кто-то когда-то, не знаю, в истории страховал бой, делал вес, он всегда дрался почти. Ну, я не помню в истории, чтобы не давали бой. Арман сделал последний турнир вес, подстраховал бой. И я думаю, он должен быть следующий. Он доказал, что у него же была проблема с весогонкой. Он доказал, что может спускаться, гонять вес. И я думаю, что это самый актуальный бой на данный момент.
У кого было бы больше всего шансов на победу?
Ну, я думаю, если честно, если Арман выйдет с правильным настроем, то он справится.
Charles Oliveira also thinks that Arman Tsarukyan should be the next challenger for Ilia Topuria's title. He pointed out that Arman is the #1 ranked contender and has already earned the shot. Oliveira also reminded that Arman was scheduled to fight for the belt before, but had to pull out with an injury, which makes him the rightful choice now.
Quem que você imaginaria que seria uma luta interessante e que causaria talvez uma dificuldade pro Topuria?
Cara, não vou te falar nem de dificuldade, nem interessante. Eu acho que o cara que merece isso é o Arman, o #1 do ranking, então o Arman merece essa luta, sabe, tá esperando ali, ele luta pelo título, teve a lesão, saiu, então acho que é o Arman.
Meanwhile, the new middleweight Khamzat Chimaev has been training alongside Arman Tsarukyan to help him prepare for his upcoming fight, and he was also spotted motivating Arman to push past his limits, and fans praised their bond, calling their support for one another unmatched.
There we go. Let's go, Arman! Let's go, Arman! Come on, boy! Armansky! 400 coach. He's only keeping on 400. Only 400? Yeah. Smart boy. Bro. Smart boy, coach. Here has to be make records to be a smart. In the cage you can be smart. But here, bro.
Carter's only doing 200. What's wrong with your friend here? He's only doing 200.
Give me music from.
Carter, you stopping on me? Let's go. That's your 2 minutes?
Right there.
Right there, 2 minutes.
Если не делаю, хороший hard work.
400, брат, как Гарри тренер.
700 делал я.
Wait a minute, I need 400.
Khamzat Chimaev also shared that the fight between Ilia Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan needed to happen this year. He called it a perfect matchup, with Arman's wrestling against Ilia's striking showing who was truly the best. Though close to both fighters, Khamzat admitted he would be eager to watch them face each other in the cage.
We know you're kind of friends with Ilia too, and you know you're friends with Arman. Do you see them fighting this year?
I hope so. It's a good fight for the both guys. So fighting is, we need to know who is the best fighter in the world. So the both guys is best fighters now. So I will be happy to watch that fight. Yeah, it's a crazy fight. Arman is good moves. Like, he has a good kick, good wrestling, and the other guy has a good jiu-jitsu, a good puncher, you know, so it would be cool to watch that fight.
On the other hand, former UFC champion Chael Sonnen gave his view on Ilia Topuria's next move and was convinced the UFC was setting up a fight with Arman Tsarukyan. He spoke about it with certainty rather than speculation, noting that Topuria often rejects fights publicly before eventually accepting them. When questioned on how he knew, Chael pointed to his friendship with Arman's wrestling coach, saying his information came from someone close to the team.
Outside of illness or injury, even if I'm breaking news to you, then I'm not sharing my opinion. I'm sharing a fact with you. It's Arman versus Ilia. That is 100% the plan.
What makes you so confident, 100% sure, is going to be Arman Tsarukyan getting the shot? I've said, I'm pretty sure I said I'd eat that hat behind me if his next fight was for a title, just because it seems so grim, Chael.
Sure.
What has changed?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, first off, I'm obviously coming to you with information, whether I should have or I shouldn't. Secondly, I was the best man in his wedding. His name's Daryl Christian, and he's the wrestling coach of Arman Tsarukyan. Third, I just spoke to Coach Cal. I wanted to come out and I wanted to film Chimaev training, and it turns out that Tsarukyan's in the room.
Chael Sonnen viewed Ilia Topuria's recent statements as a clear indication that a matchup with Arman Tsarukyan was likely being set up. He pointed out that Ilia has a pattern of initially rejecting fights in public before eventually accepting them, which often signals that the matchup is already in motion. Sonnen compared it to the small habits fighters display in the cage, saying Ilia's habit is starting to build up by denying the fight. The only exception he added is Paddy Pimblett, whose name Ilia never turns down.
A bigger tell also was what Ilia did a week ago, which is said, I don't want the fight. And the greats always, they don't even know they have it. They don't even, coaches will break them down. It's the same with technique. A coach will have to break, hey, he slips here before he throws hook. Chuck Liddell had a big thing that he would blink before he threw punches. I'm just sharing, like, everybody has something that gets them going. Your job is to go find out what it is, but it's not any different in promotion. Ilia's first move for doing a fight is to deny the fight. The only person that he's ever openly said, I'll fight, is Paddy. Everybody else that he's getting ready to fight, he denies. It's just his approach.
Chael Sonnen drew a parallel between Ilia Topuria's behavior and Anderson Silva's past promotional tactics. He recalled how Anderson often began by dismissing a potential fight, later accepted it, and then allowed rumors of an injury to surface, creating uncertainty before finally confirming the bout. In Sonnen's view, Ilia appears to follow a similar pattern, whether intentionally or subconsciously.
Anderson would always deny the fight. He'd let that run for about 2 weeks. He would then accept the fight. He would let that run for about a month. He would then slip an injury report to the media. Where you think the fight is off, it's not going to happen. He'd get his run out of that, and then he'd come out and tell everybody I'm fine and it's on. I'm only sharing, that was his system. 100% of his fights, he built the same way. Ilia's not any different whether he knows it about himself or not. But Ilia's first move when he's going to fight a guy, aside from Paddy, is to say, I'm not fighting him.
Arman Tsarukyan also hinted at the possibility of a title fight with Ilia Topuria, while noting he was still waiting for a word from the UFC. He joked that Chael Sonnen might actually know more about the situation than he did. In his view, Ilia was avoiding the matchup because of the risk it carried, preferred instead to target easier, high-profile opponents rather than defending the belt against him.
I wanna fight for the title. I've been waiting so long, and Chael Sonnen maybe knows something.
Do you know if those conversations about a title fight are ongoing with the UFC?
They didn't tell anything yet to me. So I'm just still waiting, training, and trying to call out Ilia as much as possible. But
yeah, we've seen some of the tweets towards Ilia. They've been funny. I enjoyed the duck video that you did. What do you make of the fact that he says he would rather give up the belt than fight today? You just don't deserve it. He doesn't want to do it.
I mean, he feels that he's gonna lose that fight, and it's better to give the belt and then like go up or like wait when what happened with me, because he knows just I'm a big problem for him, and I'm gonna get his title. He knows that, and he wants to get easy fight with Perry or Gage or with someone, just make money and to defend. But with me, it's gonna be hard for him.
On the other hand, Dan Hooker revealed that doctors officially cleared him to return in November, and he already has his eyes on one man, Arman Tsarukyan. Hooker said there's nobody ranked between them who's even willing to take that fight, and he's ready to step in and test himself against one of the division's toughest rising contenders.
He said you had ducked him, but I've heard you call his name many times over the years, so there's that chat.
It just didn't work out. I'm cleared to fight in November. That fight was in October. I never even got offered that fight because I told the UFC that I don't have medical clearance, so I'm cleared for November. All he had to do was kind of sit and wait a couple of weeks, but you know, it's just the stars in the line. I want that Arman. I think he's a scumbag, monobrow loser. And I'll knee him right in I'll cave his face right in. That's on the cards. There's not a single other fighter in the top 5 or anyone ranked between me and him that even wants that fight. Like, no one, he's the #1 contender. No one gives a flying about.
Dan Hooker earlier suggested that several top contenders in the lightweight division were trying to avoid a fight with Arman Tsarukyan. He didn't view it as personal, but believed Arman was simply one of the youngest matchups out there. In his view, many fighters gave public excuses to dodge the bout, while the real reason was Arman's skill set that could make anyone look bad inside the cage.
He is a very good fighter, and now all those big name guys they've got a good excuse to not fight him, you know, like Ilia said he's not going to fight him. The UFC says that he needs one more. That's always the fight I want, and not because he's a prick and I hate him, but because I genuinely think that he's the hardest fight, and all those big name guys have like an excuse to not fight him, because I think he is the best at winning fights. Like, he's not necessarily the most dangerous fighter. Like, Oliver is very dangerous, Gaethje's very dangerous. I think he's the best at winning fights, and so a lot of these guys have a justifiable reason to avoid fighting him.
However, Arman Tsarukyan admitted he would take on another top contender if Ilia Topuria wasn't available, but only if the UFC guaranteed him a title shot afterward. He named Justin Gaethje as his preferred opponent, believing a win would erase any doubts about his claim to the belt. While he also mentioned Dan Hooker as an option, Arman emphasized that the UFC shouldn't overlook him in favor of booking a Paddy Pimblett versus Topuria fight.
The other contenders is Gaethje, who wants to fight for the title, because if I beat him, he's not gonna say anything about title or Paddy, those two names. But Hooker, he's not on the title contender, but still, if they give me those 3 names, I'll fight. But they gotta tell me, if you beat this guy, you're gonna fight for the title, and they're not gonna like make fight Paddy versus Ilia and me versus someone, because I wanna fight as soon as possible and then go to the title fight.
However, let's get back to the Ilia versus Islam topic, as earlier, after Ilia's moves to the lightweight division, a lot of MMA pros shared their thoughts about this matchup. Michael Bisping said Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria is one of the biggest fights the UFC could make. He warned that if Topuria faces another top contender first and loses, the promotion risks missing out on a blockbuster matchup with Islam.
Ilia is special. I'm not saying that he's not. But if he lost to them, there's a massive market opportunity lost there, because Ilia versus Islam, Ilia with the rise, Ilia still being in a lot of people's minds, the featherweight champion against the lightweight champion, there's something there. And yeah, if he loses to Gaethje, but then 2-3 fights later gets a shot, it's not quite the same sell. The public wouldn't be quite as still invested. So I think they're going to give him the title fight. I think Islam's going to take it.
Michael Chandler also shared his thoughts on a potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. He praised Ilia for his unique style and skill set, but noted that Islam's experience would make the difference. Chandler believed that if the fight went into the later rounds, Topuria would have no chance of surviving against the Dagestani.
If Islam and Ilia Topuria go at it, who do you think wins?
Ilia Topuria may be one of my favorite guys to watch stylistically. How he doesn't force things, not getting emotional, not pushing too hard, also not taking his foot off the gas. He's just right there in the middle until he lands the big knockout punch. So I think he could catch Islam, but if that fight goes anything past 15 15 minutes, I think Islam beats him handedly just because Islam is a large 155er, and I don't think Ilia is that big. But ton of respect for both of those guys, especially Ilia Topuria.
Joshua Van picked Ilia Topuria to beat Islam Makhachev. He admitted Islam is a tough and highly skilled fighter, but believed Topuria has what it takes to flip the matchup in his favor.
Islam is hard to beat, you know what I mean? But I'll go with Ilia just because he's a striker like myself, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
However, the UFC heavyweight fighter Curtis Blaydes had a different opinion as he backed Islam Makhachev to take down Ilia Topuria. Blaydes thought it would be difficult to take down a guy like Ilia Topuria, but if Islam manages to do that, it will be game over for the Georgian fighter.
Islam takes him down. It won't be easy to get the takedown, but he will be constantly looking for takedowns. Once he gets it, he'll probably just squeeze him and smush him, and it'd be a decision victory.
On the contrary, Eddie Cha praised Ilia Topuria as one of the best fighters in the UFC. He predicted Topuria would beat Islam Makhachev in a potential matchup, pointing out his rapid improvement in striking while already being strong in grappling.
People probably think I'm crazy, but I think Ilia can get it done.
Okay.
He's one of my favorite guys to watch right now. His distance game, I mean, if you've seen him when he was like 6 or 7-0 at Brave before the UFC, he would just take guys down and just grapple. You know, I think that was his biggest strength. That's why I'm so impressed with that guy, because for him to be as good in striking in a short amount of time, understanding the game and how he runs his offense, it's phenomenal.
However, Tim Welch believed Islam Makhachev would be too strong for Ilia Topuria. He acknowledged Topuria's solid grappling and striking, but felt the Dagestani champion would handle the challenge with ease and keep his title.
Ilia versus Islam Makhachev, he's probably going to walk in the cage. I think he was around 180, 181. Ilia Topuria has never thrown a kick above the waist, ever in his UFC career. He's got this wide boxing stance. Obviously, there's a puncher's chance, but as soon as Islam grabs a hold of him, I think it's going to be over. You're fighting someone who's an orthodox boxer. It's not that hard to time a shot to the legs, and I'm sure Ilia is a really good grappler, really good black belt, but I think Islam's just going to be too strong, too powerful, and it's going to submit Ilia Topuria.
Featherweight fighter Julian Erosa wasn't certain about the outcome, but believed Ilia Topuria had a real chance if he lived up to the expectations. Erosa said he had heard a lot about Topuria's skills, and based on that, leaned toward him to take the title from the Dagestani star.
I hear nothing but great things about Ilia's grappling and his wrestling. So if he lives up to the hype around his grappling and his wrestling, then I got to go with him 100%.
And you think he does? Do you think he can beat Islam?
Well, you know, if the hype is real about his wrestling and his grappling and his strength that I've heard, then if I go with that as truth, then yeah, I think he beats him.
That wraps up everything from today's video. Let us know your thoughts on these matchups in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates on the upcoming UFC showdowns.